That sounds good.
Hi, I'm Sue Greenwald with the Empowered Light Holistic Expo, and I'm here with Marissa. Marissa is going to be a speaker at our April Expo next weekend, and she's also written an amazing book, and we'll have a booth there. I wanted to introduce you to her so that you understand what her book is about, what her talk is about, and you'll be able to go and meet her in person throughout the weekend. Hey, Marissa, how are you?
Good. How are you, Sue? Thanks so much for having me.
Good. Well, why don't you describe to people, like tell people about yourself, like about your life and kind of how you got started with what you do and what you do.
Well, it's interesting because it's the perfect blend of combining your past life with your current passions. And I always thought that was kind of a hokey thing until it happened to me. So I'm kind of living proof of that. But I started out in my career, believe it or not, not in health at all, which is ironic. I started out the bulk of my career in corporate change consulting, so organizational change consulting. And I traveled all around the world with a large consulting firm, coaching executives on how to implement big strategic initiatives. And my job was to help them really help employees to embrace the change, because it's not the what is the project is all about. That's the hard part. It's helping employees through how to change. So it was awesome and a great experience, and I loved my corporate life. But as it happens with all of us, years of long hours and lots of work and lots of travel. I've lived in a couple different countries. I noticed that some of my health challenges were piling up. And one day I was standing in the kitchen making, of course, a big family meal, and I felt this weird tingling go up and down my leg. And then over days, it spread to my other leg, and then it started to go up through my body, into my arms, and eventually it went to my face. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think it's time to figure out what the heck's going on. And through years of searching for answers, ironically, I finally found someone that could help. And he said, it's not a prescription. I was waiting for the pill or the prescription or the easy answer. And unfortunately for me, the answer was, you have to change your diet completely. You have to de-stress. You need to change 100% about you. And I was just kind of floored, like, now what? And I went home and I thought, how am I supposed to do this? And I was, as expected, right, a little paralyzed and shocked. And then I took a step back and said, wait a minute. Your whole life and your career has been around managing change. Surely you can manage this change. So I decided to go back to all of my methodologies and the processes and the tools that I used in business and see if I could apply it to my own food and health transformation. Because what's really interesting, Sue, is that 90% of all business strategic change initiatives and projects are successful, but yet 95% of all diets fail. So I went back and I tried to figure out, maybe my business approach, consultants love a methodology. So I had a million methodologies, and ironically, it's based on the change curve through the death and dying process that businesses use. And I went back and I was shocked because almost all of it applied. So it was that day I said, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to figure out how to change using these tools and this methodology. And I'm going to be successful. I'm going to get healthy. And then I went on to become a certified health coach and really create this methodology that's repeatable for other people. And that's how I launched my health coaching career about, oh my gosh, almost 8 years ago.
It sounds like you're very passionate about it. And of course, you've had great success.
I have. I'm really lucky. I feel great. So many of us, and we'll hear over the weekend, I'm sure, how so many of us, and even people I talk to that look perfectly healthy on the outside, we all have small health challenges that sort of build up, and we ignore them, or we take a pill or a powder, or we ignore them. And even the most healthy people of all that I speak to, when I talk about defining what does health look like to you, it's actually kind of a foreign question. Immediately, we all go to, what do I eat, right? But it's not really what to eat that's the question. It's why change and how am I supposed to change? That's the real challenge. And that's what I find that people are really starting to embrace. Even if you technically on paper are in perfect health, what defines health for you? And maybe it's just energy throughout the whole day. Do you wake up energized and ready to go? Maybe you have some aches and pains. Maybe you get some sinus infections. Maybe your digestive health isn't the way you want it to be exactly. We really have to take a step back and look at what is health. And, for me, it was, I want to get through a day without feeling numbness and tingling in my body. I want to not be in bed for 4 weeks with back-to-back sinus infections, right? I want to go to the bathroom every day, right? We don't talk about digestive health that way. Some people are going to the bathroom 6 times a day and others don't go for a week, right? So what does digestive health look like to you? Some people get migraines. Like, there's a whole host of things that could define health for you. And while I believe that we all talk about health a lot, the very first question I ask folks in my workshops and in my health coaching practice is, what does it mean for you? And that's something that we talk about, or I share in the book, and some tools around how to create a health vision. And what does it look like? And what will you do once you have it? And that's even more powerful, because I have clients that say to me, you know what? I never really thought about it. I was afraid to really think about what my life would look like without this autoimmune situation,
Right.
without this, or without waking up with sweats in the middle of the night, or this ache or pain. And so we kind of sit there a little bit and then create a vision for, what does it look like? Why am I doing it? And what am I going to do with my life once I have it? And it's kind of a scary but exciting process. And the book outlines some tools with which to do that. And in my talk, I will describe a little bit more about what it takes to create this health vision, because businesses come up with visions all the time, right? A business just doesn't automatically buy a new computer system or decide to merge with another company, right? They think about what their operating vision is, or their strategic vision. What do they want to do in the market? And yet, that's what we need to do. We need a vision for why we're doing what we're doing, and then we can come up with a specific action plan to get there. But most of us just sort of jump to, what do I eat on Tuesday? Or is this bad for me? I had a woman, this was so funny. Last week I was doing a workshop, so I had some last minute printing to do. And I went to Staples and I was getting my worksheets back. And the woman looked at me and she said, I see that you printed something on health. I said, yes. And she said, I read that eggplant is really bad for you, but I love eggplant. Should I give it up? And I thought, hold on a minute. Eggplant is like the least of our worries at this point. It was just so funny because in her mind, it was really about, I can't eat eggplant anymore because they say I shouldn't eat eggplant. It's really, this process is really about understanding your own body and figuring out what foods work for me, because one food might be power for me, but it might be poison for you. And somebody that happened to be sensitive to nightshades, which eggplant is a part of that, may have had a problem with eggplant, and now this woman was so focused on the food, which
right.
is kind of 20 steps down the line, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yes, so you're taking a holistic approach, it sounds like, the whole body, which I would assume includes the psychological, the environment the person is in, and their attitudes and everything. Attitudes about food, attitudes about everything.
It's attitudes for sure. And the other thing is, you really hit the nail on the head with the holistic piece, in that, when Amazon bought Whole Foods, right? on day one, they didn't sign the contract on Friday. And then on Monday, decide, okay, every Whole Foods that you go in, you can use your Amazon. Like, they didn't merge in one day, right? They developed a strategic, specific implementation plan. And they did things according to, implementation plans are very specific, right? What tools do we need? Okay, how are we going to combine our computer systems? I think about that for me, right? If I was transitioning my diet, how could I use technology to help me, right? Are there apps that could help me? Are there new cooking schools I could do online? And same thing with connecting with other people, having a tribe, right? Businesses hire consultants, right? They work with their peers in the industry to find out what they're doing. But yet we might decide on a Friday, because everything's a Friday, we might decide on Friday, I'm going to go vegan on Monday because I heard that's good, and you watched a documentary and it could be great for you. But yet we don't look at the tools that we might need, the people that we might need. We don't have a process. We don't look at where we are today in terms of, do I eat vegetables today? Because if not, I have some work to do to move to a vegan diet.
Right.
And these are all things businesses do every single day. They have a methodology that includes processes and technology and people and how the people work together. But yet, we just
Right.
think that we can will our way to change. And change just doesn't work that way. You need that holistic process.
I think what happens with most people is that we're creatures of habit. So a lot of us buy we'll call it inexpensive, what's on sale at the grocery store. And they'll look in the fridge and say, oh, this is what I have, and this is what I'll be eating, or whatever. But it is shocking to me how many people do not know how to cook, whether they're single and they don't feel they're worth cooking for, or they just plain Jane don't know. They order out and they bring take-in food, or they go out every night. It just, I can't even understand it. I mean, I cook 3 meals a day for myself generally, and it shocks me. And I think a lot of people kind of like are blown by the wind of what other people are offering them. This restaurant has this on special, this store has this on special, and that's what they purchase without planning.
Exactly. And I think recognizing where you are is so important, and being honest about it before embarking on a change.
Yeah.
Because you need to reflect on, where am I today? How much do I cook today? And what I like to do in my workshops and with my clients is take the mystery out of it. I say we all have Pinterest boards and we collect recipes, and it looks like there's thousands of recipes that you own, or you have cookbooks. How many recipes do you really make in every cookbook? 2, 3, right? Because it's made to look so complicated. But in my methodology, what I do is I outline that everyone identify, they go through what's called a personal best inventory. So you go through the sheet. I've used this with girls and boys that are in middle school all the way up through top executives in companies. And even the pickiest of eaters say, oh, I only eat a few things. I'm very picky. And I say, okay, well, go through the inventory. They go through the process. They assess all the different, they rate all the scale, they scale all the foods that they like, the whole foods. And then they take a step back and they go, wow, I actually forgot I liked so many foods.
Yeah.
Because as you say, Sue, we're creatures of habit.
Right.
You buy the 6 things. I did a workshop last week. A girl said, I forgot that I liked sugar snap peas. Like, why don't I buy them? So once you go through this process, then what we do is we take a step back and say, don't look at the 1,000 recipes that you could make with these. Let's identify 10 cooking techniques that you like. And even less than 10 works. And a recipe technique might be anything that you can use, whatever personal best vegetables, fruits, beans, grains, whatever you're eating, how to incorporate that into a meal. So let's give an example. A stir fry. If you like stir fry, any sort of soy sauce, tamari, teriyaki sauce, you can make any vegetables, any protein, any grain could be part of the stir fry. So in your mind, you just think that one technique is stir fry. You don't think, I'm going to make chicken with broccoli, ginger, and sesame seeds, right? That's too specific. So we come up with this process where we try to take the complicated pieces of cooking out of it. And then people say, oh, like I can do that. That's just a simple technique.
Right.
And once I master that, then I can just incorporate anything that I have. And I find that works really well. The other thing is people want big change fast, right? So people want to lose 30 pounds in 30 minutes, and they want to go vegan tomorrow or keto tomorrow without really being honest about where they are today. And inevitably, while it may provide some short-term benefits, and you might have a couple days or weeks even, inevitably you go back to your old habits. So my philosophy is kind of one bite at a time. How do we, again, sort of inventory? Where are you today? Nobody ever talks about just like each person defines health 100% different. Everybody starts at a different place. You cook 3 meals a day. So I've had workshops where I've had gourmet cooks in a workshop, and I've also had someone that's never cooked. And they have to cook differently depending on their family situations. I had one woman who said, I cook for a professional hockey player. I need to have a lot of bulk, and I can't have a lot of carbs. Someone else says, I have 3 picky kids. But yet, using this process of the personal best inventory and coming up with these techniques, no matter where you are, gourmet chef or novice cook, you can still use the process and just start one step at a time based on where you are. And inevitably, small change creates big change.
I love the philosophy, and I love the way you've broken it down to be so simple. And it sounds like anyone can do this. What I also love is what I'm hearing you say, that you're kind of allowing the people that you work with, the people that read your book, or the people that you're consulting with, to take their own responsibility for what they like in custom tailor it. So their health is now back in their own hands. They make the decisions, but they're not waiting for a doctor 30 years later to give them the pills to heal their symptoms.
Exactly. You hit on another really important point, and that is about understanding your own body. And that I teach people, I'm not going to tell other people. I mean, I had to give up gluten, dairy, sugar, processed foods, like all this stuff all at once. And I was like, now, do I think that certain foods are probably not good for everybody? Sure. The processed foods, too much sugar, gluten and dairy are highly sensitive. But I never come right out and say to a client, give that up today. What I might say is, let's do a test. You be the driver, as you say, right? How about for a week, you give up X? And people usually have a good sense about what is a problem for them. And I say, okay, give it up. In fact, ironically, Sue, when it happens when people are most sort of aggressive and really emotional about a food, like I definitely can't give up cheese or whatever. People always
cheese is a big one too.
People come up to, I know, I get sometimes on question cards, what do you want to change about your health? They say, eat less cheese, run more. I think that was the funniest one I got. But people always say to me, like, I can't give up cheese. As soon as you feel really emotionally tied to it, it could be that is actually a problem because you feel like you're very addicted to any type of food. And B, I'm always really I have people be kind to themselves and recognize that everyone's pace of change has to be different.
Right?
Your pace of change as a seasoned chef is very different from someone who's starting with a diet filled with processed foods and heavy in sugars and all different things. So it's not really about where you're starting from. It's about making slow changes from there. But what I was saying is that I have each person do a diary and reflect on different foods and how they think it makes them feel, right? I'm not going to tell them. And so maybe we take out something like gluten or dairy or a specific grain. If sometimes people say to me, oh, this makes me feel bloated or something, I say, all right, well, you be the driver. Let's give it a try. And it is amazing. And again, I've had middle schoolers, teenagers, top executives come back to me and say, you know what? This food, I really don't feel good when I eat this. So I'm just coaching them along, but each of us knows our bodies the best. There is a little bit of denial potentially, a lot of times we can be in denial. And that happens because you're just not ready. You haven't hit what I call the tipping point, right? Things aren't bad enough for you to really pull yourself out of denial and accept that maybe this food really is a problem, and I've had enough now, and it's
Right.
time. But when I let my clients drive, as you say, they know what foods work for them over time. They start to listen to the messages. I like to say that the messages are like a baby's cry, right? Somebody on the outside wouldn't know what one specific cry meant, but we do. When you're the mother, you know. And it's the same thing. If you're tired 2 hours after eating something, or if you're super tired or hit a sugar crash, or you feel a pain or something, you're congested or your stomach hurts or you feel bloated, you back it up and say, I wonder what's going on here.
Yeah.
We're the best diagnosticians out there, right? We know
Right.
ourselves the best. And that process is the best gift you can give to yourself.
I think what happens too is these people that you're working with or that are reading your book are actually like they're slowing down a little bit to take notice of their body, because those signals are always there. It's just we're always going at 90 miles an hour and we don't notice them. So you may have the stomach ache, the headache, or whatever. And what do you normally do? You'll chuck down more coffee, or you'll have a candy bar or a donut, whatever you do, and go about your day, rather than say, well, maybe I should eliminate or, switch a specific food or whatever.
Exactly.
So it's really being more mindful of what they're doing and listening to what their body's telling them.
100%. And having, what I also find is too, having the support around you when you're making a change is really important. So
Right.
if you realize that a certain food is bad for you, somebody else in your family, this happens a lot with gluten. I see this a lot with my celiac patients. Years ago when I had celiac patients, they wanted to know what had gluten, what didn't, what are the hidden things that have gluten in it, how should I eat, what should I eat? But I've noticed a real shift in the role of health coaches, certainly in my practice as it relates to folks with something like celiac. And the real shift is you can go online, right? You can figure out what to eat, what not to eat, what things have gluten. The real shift is I often coach people to, how do I work with my family to get them to help me? It sounds obvious. There are so many people out there whose families are in denial themselves. And what happens is a lot of people project. So let's say you figured out that, eggplant, we'll use the woman's example. Let's say you figured out eggplant didn't work for you, or you figured out that dairy just wreaks havoc on your body. You'd think your family would be supportive, and many families are. But some people are in denial themselves, and then they project their own stuff about giving on to you, and they say, I don't know why you're not eating ice cream, or why aren't you eating gluten? It doesn't make any sense to me. That's dumb. So a lot of my coaching is really about, how do you work with your family and explain to them, here's how you can help me help you, right? And this is what I need. And this is why it's so important. Back to the why question, right? I could get really sick. This is what it could look like for me if I eat gluten. This isn't just a fad diet. And I've coached college students on, how do you tell your friends at 2:00 in the morning, I can't eat that pizza without, feeling really funny about it. And when you go online, there's a lot of great Facebook groups, not just for celiac, but for any style of eating, or any type of challenge you have, an autoimmune, nervous system. Subscribe to those different groups, and that's my methodology, is about finding this tribe, which businesses do all the time, and use other people, contribute a little bit to them, right? We want to pay it forward, and then listen and ask for help, because none of us can do this alone. Change is hard, right? Change bites,
It
but it doesn't.
totally does. Well, so you'll be offering the book at your booth during the expo next weekend, which is exciting, and you'll be able to tell people this in person and explain your philosophy and what's in the book. And you're going to be talking about this very topic Sunday at 12:30, and
I am.
basically kind of breaking it down for the average person so that they can take it home with them and they can take some tips home. They may want to dig a little bit deeper and get the book so that they get more tips. And then you are glad to work with them if they choose to go even further. So.
Yes, absolutely. And if you get the book, also, if you request, there's a member only access part of my website, which is changebites.com. And if you go onto the website, you can print all the major tools in the book and have them as sheets, because the nice thing about the process is that it's repeatable. So I might use this process for, myself, I used it for gluten and dairy. And then I used it, I changed my all my beauty supplies. I changed my cleaning supplies, right? I tried out eating plant-based. I experimented with low carb, but I used the same process to make the transition. So having the access to all of the tools and being able to reprint them. The other thing is you can use them for other people in your family. So oftentimes when I work with families, I will have all the children fill out the personal best inventory, or teens or adults. In fact, I have a funny story. I went to one family not too long ago, and there were 3 children, and the one daughter was not sure about this whole health coach process. She didn't know about me. She was really skeptical. So she kind of sat a little bit further away, and she was just, kind of scoping me out. So we went through the process, and I said, and if you all want to fill out this inventory, you could do it later, you can do it now. And they said, let's do it now. Well, she ended up not only just filling out the sheet, which has a 1 and 2 point scale. I mean, I made it really simple for folks. She came up with a 7-point scale. She was so excited about the whole thing, and she was the most resistant in the beginning. And she came up with this 7-point scale. And then what I did is I matched all 3 of the children and the parents to come up with foods that they all liked. Because I think one of the other big philosophies here is, let's not focus on the foods we can't have, which is what everybody tends to do. No carb, no sugar, no meat, no gluten, no dairy. But my philosophy is, let's shift all that thinking from what we can't have. Let's shift it to the positive. What can we have? What do we all agree on? We all love, 1 food or 2 foods. Like maybe we all love cauliflower. Great. Let's make cauliflower pizza crust. Let's make cauliflower mash. Let's make stir-fry cauliflower. Let's roast it. So it's really around, and this is the other thing I love about it, is people are much more engaged in a positive process that focuses on what we all agree on and all the positives.
Right. It sounds amazing. So anyone that wants to learn more about Marissa, her book, her philosophy, or how you might make a change in your life, Marissa's talking next Sunday at 12:30. And she'll be there all weekend with her book and explaining and answering questions. Thank you so much, Marissa. Anything else you want to add?
I just added the discount code on my Instagram page, which is Change Bites. Also on Facebook, Change Bites, and you can go on my website for any more information. And I'm on Amazon, but I'm really excited to join the expo this weekend, and I'll see you all Sunday.
Thank you so much, Marissa. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.